What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, going to be talking about UFC 278. This is my full card preview and predictions, really looking forward to the card. Don't really want to waste too much time, let's just jump straight into the predictions. And as we move on to the first fight of the night, you got Victor Altamirano taking on Daniel Da Silva, and I think this is going to be a very exciting fight. For as long as it lasts, I personally do think it's going to go 3 rounds, but I think the first round is going to be super exciting. Both guys always have a pretty strong first round. Victor Altamirano always goes pretty hard in the first round, and then he slows down in the second and third. We saw that in his Dana White's Contender Series fight, and then we saw that in the Carlos Hernandez fight as well. He does tend to slow down a little bit, but he does have a very exciting style, and he's a very good boxing style as well. And I do understand why a lot of people like this guy, because he's definitely a very exciting fighter to watch. Now Daniel Da Silva, same sort of thing. This guy's got a lot of finishing ability. He's 26 years old as a flyweight, but you know, he's like 6 wins by submission, 5 wins by KO, like a lot of finishing ability, but it's just like, it's kind of interesting, because I feel like this guy, although he's got a very experienced record, 11-3, sorry, I feel like he's also somewhat of an inexperienced fighter, and I feel like it kind of comes down to the weird mistakes he's making in his fights. Like, he slowed down a lot in the Jeff Molina fight, albeit he probably did take the fight. I think he took the fight on a full camp, but he slowed down a lot in the Jeff Molina fight. I don't mind that loss, because Jeff Molina is a top 15 fighter right now, but the Francisco Figareto fight, he ended up on top, and then he was on top, and then he kind of just turned and just gave Francisco Figareto his leg, and then lost by knee bar. It's a really weird fight. It's only about a minute and a half if you wanted to watch it and kind of see that sequence. It's just so confusing, because he just kind of turned around and gave him his leg, and I feel like it's just kind of mistakes like that kind of prevents me from feeling confident in the Daniel Da Silva pick. He's definitely got more finishing ability than Daniel Da Silva. I believe Altamirano's got 5 wins by decision. His last 2 fights have gone by the way of the decision as well. He lost to Carlos Hernandez in a fight which I genuinely believe he won, and then the Dana White's Contender Series fight could go either way. I thought that Carlos Candelario won it when I first watched it, and I watched it back, and it could go either way. It's a tough one, really is, but yeah man, I'm gonna be picking Victor Altamirano here. I'm somewhat confident in him as well. Like, he's a very good fighter. I think that he's got a little bit better of a gas tank than Daniel Da Silva as well. I think he just makes better choices as well in the fight. I think he's got the striking advantage in the boxing position. Daniel Da Silva's obviously got finishing ability for days. He probably will look to grapple with Victor Altamirano. Altamirano's got 4 wins by submission as well. He's no slouch on the ground. I just think Altamirano's going to win a decision. I know it's somewhat of a weird pick to make, considering Daniel Da Silva's never been the distance in his entire career, but recently Altamirano, you know, he's been winning a lot of decisions. He did beat Lloyd McKinney by submission. That was a couple of years ago, but yeah, I think Victor Altamirano is just going to win the first 2 rounds. Probably even all 3 rounds actually. I was going to say maybe Daniel Da Silva would have a late flurry in the end, but I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest, because I think Daniel Da Silva is going to slow down a lot in this fight. I think they're going to have a very competitive first round. It could go either way, because they're both going to have a great first round, and then I think Victor Altamirano is just going to have more in the tank in the second and the third, and he's going to win a decision over Daniel Da Silva. I think it's going to be a great fight though, especially in the first round as well, as both guys are very exciting fighters, once again, especially in the first round. And now we move on. We've got Ayuri Kaling taking on Jay Perrin. I'm really sorry if I am pronouncing Ayuri Kaling's name incorrectly. I believe it could be pronounced Ayachi Lang, but yeah, I'm going to be calling him Ayuri Kaling. I apologize for that, but I am a big fan of this guy. I think he's a very exciting fighter. He's always in exciting fights. You know, even coming into his UFC debut, I didn't really know what to expect from this guy, because he did have a pretty spotty record, but it was super experienced as well against not so great competition, and he really did show up against Jeff Molina as well. And now that record has been improved, because the guys that really look into the records of these guys, I can't remember the name of the company or the organization that does it, has actually found out Ayuri Kaling has got 4 more wins on his record than they thought, because I believe he was 19-9 when this fight was announced. Now it's gone up to 23-9, which is good news for him. Not so great news for Askar Mozharov, who went from like 22-7 to 19-13 in the space of about 48 hours. But yeah, Ayachi Lang, Ayuri Kaling, I think he's going to win the fight on the feet. Jay Perrin though, I don't mind the underdog pick of Jay Perrin. You know, if someone's telling me that they were picking Jay Perrin, I wouldn't mind that, because Jay Perrin, he's got a really good grappling game. He took on Mario Batista, I believe, on like 4 days' notice. Of course, I picked Mario Batista. He was on the full camp, and Mario Batista's looking pretty good in the UFC at the moment. Recently finished Brian Kelleher pretty quickly in his fight. But Jay Perrin, he has been fighting somewhat good competition. You know, he fought Dwight Joseph, who probably should be in the UFC right now. He's 12-1 at the moment, but yeah, I'm picking Aori Killing. I think he's got a striking advantage. I think he's got the power advantage. He used to fight at 125, had a very competitive fight with Jeff Molina, had a very competitive fight with Cody Durden as well. But in that fight, Cody Durden was able to take him down with somewhat ease and keep him down, and then Aori Killing would get up, he would beat Cody Durden up on the feet, then he would get taken down. The fight, honestly, it was a close fight. It could have gone either way. If Aori Killing had more success on the feet, the decision probably could have gone his way, to be fair. But yeah, Jeff Molina as well, and that fight, he potentially could have won that fight as well if he didn't. He took a lot of damage in that fight. He got beaten up, but there is an argument to that he could have potentially won the fight if he just absorbs less strikes. And I know that sounds really, really dumb, but if you watch the fight, you would understand what I mean. Like, Aori Killing was having a lot of success in that fight against Jeff Molina until he wasn't, to be fair. But Jay Perrin, yeah, he had not a bad performance against Mario Batista on 4 days' notice. I think we've got to talk about that. You know, that's pretty impressive in my opinion. But as it is, Jay Perrin, really good wrestler. I think he potentially could wrestle Aori Killing, and I definitely think that's going to happen. But yeah, now that he's not draining himself down to 125 as well, I think Aori Killing would have probably put on a little bit more muscle, put on a little bit more mass as well, so he can make 135 safely, but also be bigger than he was in his last fight, because he's had a few months now to bulk up a little bit, moving up the weight class. And I like it, you know, I like Aori Killing's move up to bantamweight. I think it's more of his natural weight class. I think that's where he fought a lot before he dropped down to 125 for the UFC. And I think he's going to beat Jay Perrin in this one here. It's also worth noting that he beat Cameron Else, who was actually a training partner of Jay Perrin, so maybe they're able to exchange something. But Cameron Else was knocked out pretty quickly in that fight there. I believe it was with a body shot and then ground and pound afterwards. I'm picking Aori Killing by decision in this one here. There's a potential for a KO big time, but I think that he's just going to have a lot more success on the feet. Hopefully he defends Perrin's takedowns as well, and he is training out of a pretty big gym, I believe, in America as well right now. So yeah, I like Aori Killing. I think going into a good training camp, Jay Perrin on a full camp really could surprise me, really could impress me. He's got the potential there to do it with his wrestling base. But I will be picking Aori Killing in this one. He is a fighter that I am a pretty big fan of. Yeah, I like this guy. I like watching him fight. He's always in exciting fights. All three of his fights in the UFC have been exciting, and I think if he loses, he's still going to be on the roster due to his excitingness. But I do think he's going to be able to beat Jay Perrin in this matchup here. Up we move up to another smaller weight class fight down at flyweight. Amir Bazi versus Francisco Figareto. Francisco Figareto getting an opportunity to fight a ranked opponent. I think it's somewhat of a weird one, and I think Amir Bazi is going to win this fight. Francisco Figareto, he also doesn't have the greatest cardio in the world, and you really got to look at the fight against Malcolm Gordon, where he had a pretty good first round, and he slowed down a lot in the second and third round, and even in the third round, he was really gassed out. He did come back and beat Daniel Da Silva by knee bar pretty impressively, to be fair. But Daniel Da Silva, as I said earlier on in the video, early on in the main video, Daniel Da Silva just gave him his leg. Like, it was a pretty free submission for a really good grappler like Francisco Figareto. But yeah, Francisco Figareto, he doesn't throw a lot of volume on the feet, and he doesn't necessarily tend to have the same KO power as his older brother, Figgy, Davison Figareto. But Amir Bazi hasn't fought for a year and a half, man. This guy is just not active. He's fought 5 times in about 4 years. His one loss has come to Jose Shorty Torres, who just needs to be signed back to the UFC. Why don't the UFC sign this guy back? Because he was in the UFC and then he wasn't, and now he's back. But yeah, Amir Bazi recently beat Zalga Sumagulov to get him in the rankings. Unfortunately, that hasn't necessarily aged too well. The Malcolm Gordon win hasn't aged too well either, in a way, but Malcolm Gordon is fighting Muhammad Makayev, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, I think Amir Bazi is going to win this one. I think he's going to win by submission. He is a multiple-time Swedish Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, and he does throw a lot of volume on the feet as well. I think the line is potentially a little bit wide, considering Amir Bazi's been out for about 18 months with very minor injuries. I feel like has he even been planning on coming back? But he's been out with very minor injuries. You can kind of see on his Instagram he's getting massaged and this and that. Yeah, so he's been trying to come back, but minor injuries have been preventing that. I think Amir Bazi does win this fight. I think he wins this fight by submission as well. 93% picking him. Oh wow, that is crazy. But yeah, I think he does find the submission in the second and third round. I think Francisco might look pretty good in the first, but I think he's going to slow down a bit, and Amir is going to take over in the second and third. And I think he is going to lock up his submission at some point in the fight, probably later on. And now we've got AJ Fletcher versus Angelusa, and AJ Fletcher in his UFC debut took on Matthew Semelsberger. In my video predicting that, I did think it was a little bit too much of a jump up, and he looked really good in the first round, but Matthew Semelsberger kind of showed his experience, I guess more UFC experience as well, and come back and won that fight. But AJ Fletcher had a really good first round, and truth be told, if I didn't see that fight against Matthew Semelsberger, I probably would be picking Angelusa in this matchup. But ever since I saw AJ Fletcher take on Matt Semelsberger, I can see a good game out of him. He's got a really good wrestling game, and I think that's going to be key to defeating Angelusa. I think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to look to wrestle with Angelusa like he did with Matt Semelsberger in the first round. I think he's going to win the first round using the wrestling, using the grappling, and I think he's going to do it the same in the second round. And I think at least 2 out of 3 rounds AJ Fletcher is going to win just based on wrestling alone. Even on the feet as well, Angelusa does have a pretty good reach advantage, and he has fought really good competition in his career. You know, he took about a 3-year break in between fighting Jack Della Maddalena and Colin Luberts on Dana White's Contender Series, but he took that fight on short notice as well. I remember Jack Della was meant to fight someone else, and in comes Angelusa on short notice, and he did lose a decision, but Jack Della got signed out of it. Angelusa ended up getting signed out of it, so it was a good fight. He beat John Howard, former UFC fighter, a guy that just fights anyone and everyone. I do love John Howard, man. He's still a savage. He's still doing it. He's obviously got a pretty spotty record, but that doesn't mean too much to me. John Howard is a savage, and I really do have a lot of respect for him, and he's a good wrestler as well. He's also got a lot of KOs on his record as well. And Munir Aziz, Munir Aziz, he took on Munir Aziz on super short notice. I tell the story about how Munir Aziz got signed to the UFC every time he's mentioned. So let me tell you, I believe in the build-up to Munir Aziz's debut, they were talking about how Dana White's son was having like a birthday party, and one of Dana White's son's friends come up to Dana White and showed him a Munir Aziz highlight video. And Dana White obviously must have taken a note somewhere and sent it off to his team, and there you go, Munir Aziz is in the UFC. Pretty crazy story. I'm about 99% sure that's true. I do remember hearing that story pretty clearly. I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, I think AJ Fletcher's going to win. I think he's going to use the wrestling. Once again though, as I said, if I didn't see that fight against Matt Semelsberger, I probably would be picking Angelusa in this one here. But I think AJ Fletcher's got that grappling advantage. I think he's got the wrestling advantage as well, and I do think he will beat Angelusa. I know Lusa does train out of Sanford MMA, and he has trained with Usman in the past. He's been a Kamaru Usman training partner in the past, actually. But I think Fletcher wins. I think even on the feet, he's probably going to throw more volume. Angelusa does kind of look to just land 1 or 2 super damaging blows. He doesn't throw too many combinations. His volume isn't too much either on the feet as well. You did see that a lot in the Munir Aziz fight. But maybe that's just because he was trying to retain his gas tank because he did take it on short notice. Maybe the same with Jack Della Maddalena as well. But yeah, he's been in 2 super exciting quote-unquote UFC fights. I think that AJ Fletcher wins this one. I think he's going to win at least 2 rounds using the grappling alone. So give me Fletcher. I'm going to see him win by decision on this one here. And now we move up. Miranda Maverick taking on Shannon Young. And yeah, I said in my early prediction video that Shannon Young looks like she's got no idea what she's doing. And that's just kind of the truth, you know. Miranda Maverick's a good fighter. Shannon Young, as I said, she just has no idea what she's doing, and that's kind of the truth of it. Even then, Miranda Maverick beat her in the past in 2019. She beat Victoria Leonardo as well, and Shannon Young. And then she went on to beat Diana Bennett, Pearl Gonzalez, former UFC fighter as well, before getting signed. Diana Bennett's a former The Ultimate Fighter and UFC fighter as well, and is currently on a run in Bellator, which is crazy to say now because she's like 38 years old. But yeah, she's gone on a crazy UFC run. Recently did go on a 2-fight losing streak to Macy Barber, which she clearly won. I can't believe that they gave Macy Barber that decision, but it is what it is. And then she did lose to Erin Blanchfield. Erin Blanchfield is now taking on Molly McCann, and after that fight, a lot of people are going to know who Erin Blanchfield is, that's for sure. She destroyed Sabina Marzo. I think she's going to destroy Shannon Young. On the feet, I think Miranda Maverick's better everywhere. I think she's a better kickboxer. I think she's a better boxer. I think she's better in the clinch. I think she's better on the ground. I think she's a better wrestler. I think she's a better jiu-jitsu fighter. I just think she's just kind of better everywhere. As I said, Shannon Young kind of doesn't look like she knows what she's doing. I can't even remember how she beat Gina Mazzani, to be honest, but I remember she was losing the first round pretty clearly. She got beaten up by Stephanie Egger. She got beaten up by Macy Chiasson. And yeah, and she even got beaten up by Sarah Alpar as well, submission. So, yeah, I know this is super critical of Shannon Young, but you guys are going to see on Saturday, man, this is such a bad mismatch. I think Miranda Maverick submitted her in the first round in their first fight. I think Miranda Maverick's going to submit her in the first round again in their second fight. So give me Miranda Maverick, 3% picking Shannon Young. I think everyone kind of knows that Young doesn't belong in the UFC. Maverick does. She's a good fighter. She should have beaten Macy Barber, but I guess it's probably for the best because since then they've been padding a record up against cans like Shannon Young. So pretty easy for Maverick. I think if she doesn't overlook Shannon Young, she should easily win inside the first round by submission like she did in their first fight. And of course, Chrome decides to crash on me. Thank you very much, Google Chrome. I'll see you in the next fight. And after restarting my laptop for the second time and recording this video, I've got Sean Woodson taking on Luis Saldana. I'm picking Sean Woodson to win this one here. Luis Saldana, I don't know, man. I was watching his fights in the UFC and I low-key think he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He didn't beat Jordan Griffin. I don't understand a world where he beat Jordan Griffin. That was a weird one, like 16 out of 18 media scored it for Griffin, and then it's about 50-50 on the Souza Saldana side. I think Souza won the fight, low-key. Oh man, yeah, I'm picking Sean Woodson. I think he should win this one here. He's a good boxer. That's kind of what he brings to the table, is a lot of boxing. Luis Saldana is a good kickboxer. He's got a lot of kicks as well, and he does have grappling in the back pocket as well. Fun fact, I always come with the fun facts. I've got one about Luis Saldana. He's got 9 fingers. He's missing one of his fingers. I'm not too sure which hands it was on, but I believe he lost it as a child, and it hasn't affected his MMA career too much. It doesn't seem that he comes into UFC off a win over Vince Murdoch by KO, which has aged terribly since Vince Murdoch recently lost to a guy that was like 2-7 after getting knocked down and then submitted. There's a YouTube video on it. It's mad. It's actually crazy. Vince Murdoch's had one of the craziest fall from graces ever. His fight after the Ultimate Fighter season 30 takes a guy that's 2-7 obviously to pad his record, and then he gets knocked down and submitted. Oh no, it's bad. Anyway, yeah, Sean Woodson beat Yusuf Zalal by split decision. Yusuf Zalal recently had a draw with Damon Blackshear. I thought it was a draw. I think that's actually a pretty fair scorecard in the Blackshear fight. And then he knocked out Colin Anglin. He looked really good in that fight, but that is Colin Anglin, who I don't believe is in the UFC anymore, and has since gone on to lose a fight outside of the UFC as well, I believe. But yeah, before that he was obviously fighting Terrence McKinney. Oh wow, okay. Why did I not know this before recording this video? That's so embarrassing. I didn't know. But yeah, I just want to check. I believe Colin Anglin has lost a fight since then. He's on a massive losing streak right now. Yeah, he's lost 2 fights out of the UFC. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm picking Sean Woodson to win. I think he's going to keep the fight on the feet. He's got a mad reach advantage as well. And Luis Saldana is a tall guy for featherweight as well. When you got Sean Woodson at 6'2", Luis Saldana, I doubt, is used to fighting guys that are taller than him with a longer reach as well. Sean Woodson with a 79-inch reach at 145, which is crazy. He utilizes it pretty well. He's got a really good jab. He's got really good 1-2. Only 6% picking Saldana. I think it's just because he's looked so bad in his previous 3 fights. I think Sean Woodson wins this fight. I think it's gonna be by a decision as well, and I think it's gonna be pretty clear cut, probably 30-27, maybe even gets a finish at some point. But I don't rate Luis Saldana too highly. He definitely had a career resurgence, but I think he's been gifted 2 decisions in the UFC, and I think Sean Woodson's about to expose that. So yeah, give me Sean Woodson by decision in this one here. He's a massive favorite. I think he's even bigger than -300. I think -300 is probably about where I would line him as well, but I think minus anything over that is a little bit too wide for me. And now we move on to Lucy Pudilova versus Yanan Wu, and I really want to pick Lucy Pudilova in this matchup here. My mouse is doing really weird things. I don't understand, but yeah, I'm picking Lucy Pudilova, and I am not confident. I'm not confident at all. It's so hard to be confident in this girl because she lost to like an 18-year-old, and I think it was Teresa Beleda, as soon as she left the UFC. So she got cut from the UFC after losing to Justine Kish, who had like a 2-year hiatus before that fight. She got cut on the first month of 2020, and then she fought on the 5th month of 2020 against Teresa Beleda, who I believe was 18 years old at the time, and lost a decision in that one there, which was not a good look. It's not a good look. So she lost. She was on a 5-fight losing streak, and then she took on Cornelia Holm, won a split decision over a girl that's 4-2, beat a girl that's 8-5, lost to Talita Bernardo, former UFC fighter, and then she beat a 5-3 girl by split decision, beat a 8-4 girl by decision. Now she's back in the UFC. And I think they're giving her a girl with a similar style. You know, Lucy Pudilova, she's a pretty pressure-heavy fighter. She does use the clinch a lot. She does like to put a lot of pressure on her opponents using the boxing. But that's kind of what Yanan Wu does as well. Yanan Wu also does that. and she also puts a lot of pressure on her opponent. I think that it will be Yanan Wu potentially putting on the most pressure in this matchup here, and looking for her game. And she had a pretty close fight recently with Mayro Bueno Silva. It was quite interesting. Yeah, what do I even have to say about this matchup? I think they're just similar fights. It will be exciting though. Yanan Wu's never in a boring fight, which is why she's still in the UFC. It's probably also a part that a lot of the women's fighters for some reason get so much more opportunity than the male fighters as well. You know, like I've seen a lot of girls go on much bigger losing streaks and still be in the UFC. I mean, Sam Alvey's an exception for sure, but yeah, there's definitely other girls that have been on 3-fight losing streaks and they don't get cut. But yeah, I think Yanan Wu, if she loses this one, she's gone. I think she's gonna have to end up. She's only 26 years old. She'll come back for sure. I think she'll probably end up fighting for a smaller organization and then come back after that. But I'm picking Lucy Podolova. A lot of rambling in this prediction because I don't really know. Like, I don't trust the level of competition Lucy Podolova fought outside of the UFC, like, whatsoever. But I think she's going to be a bit more motivated than she was. Not many people picking Wu. I do want to pick Wu. I think that Wu's a very smart pick. I think she's a good underdog. She's a very exciting fighter. She always brings it. But I think Lucy Podolova... Oh man, do I even want to pick Lucy Podolova? I don't know if I do. It's at 135 as well, and Lucy's been fighting at 125. Oh no. Oh no, it's women's MMA, guys. I'm definitely going to get the pick wrong. I'm going to pick Podolova, but Wu's probably going to win. It's women's MMA. I never get these fights right, ever. So yeah, give me Lucy Podolova to win this fight here. Let's just move on. And now we move up to Jared Gordon versus Leonardo Santos. I think Jared Gordon's going to win this fight, and I think he's going to win the fight by KO in the second or the third round. Leonardo Santos, man, he's actually gone on a crazy win streak in the UFC as well, man. Like, he made his debut a long time ago. He's also I believe a Brazilian champion in Jiu-Jitsu. I believe he's fought for the Jiu-Jitsu World Championships as well. Yeah, in 2001, IBJJF World Jiu-Jitsu Champion. Fought Takanori Gomi in his debut in 2002, which is just crazy in its own right. And then 4 years later made his debut, and then lost to Joan Silva in 2006. And then ever since then, he went on a massive win streak. And then he lost, and then again, sorry, I'm lying to you guys. Then he wins another big win streak, made it to the Ultimate Fighter, lost in the main, lost in the finals, and then he went on a massive another win streak as well. He knocked out Kevin Lee in the first round. He beat Adriano Martin, the guy that slept Islam Makhachev. He knocked out Stevie Ray. He beat Roman Bogotov, who was undefeated at the time, and now he's 42 and a half years old, and he's just not the same fighter anymore, to be honest. Like, this guy leaves the first rounds, and he gasses, man. He slows down. And I think Jared Gordon's going to be able to capitalize on that one. He had a pretty tough outing in the last one against Grant Dawson. I did see a lot of people picking Jared Gordon in that one there, but another thing to worry about though is Jared Gordon's chin ain't flash. This guy's been knocked out 3 times in the UFC. He got knocked out by Charles Oliveira back in the day. He got knocked out by a guy before that as well. And he just can't really take too much of a beating on the feet, which could potentially be exposed by Santos as well. But Santos is a big guy for 155. He's almost 43 years old and he's still cutting weight to 155, which is crazy to me. I just think that Santos is going to gas bad after the first round like he has in his last 2 fights. You know, he did it against Grant Dawson. He did it really bad against Clay Guida. He almost finished Clay Guida in the first round, and then he gassed bad and then got submitted. Like, I think Jared Gordon's just going to do the same thing. He's just got to weather the storm of the first round. Leonardo Santos does have power. I mean, he knocked out Kevin Lee, and then he knocked out Stevie Ray, who recently beat Anthony Pettis twice. But yeah, I think Jared Gordon's going to outlast him in the first round, and I think he might even look to grapple as himself in the second and third round, but I think he's going to find a KO at some point. He hasn't got any KOs recently, but I think it's just Leonardo Santos, man. He's just going to be so gassed and so tired, it's going to be almost impossible for Jared Gordon to not find a finish. So yeah, give me Gordon. I think he is going to finish Santos in this one here, just because Santos is going to gas so bad in the second round that Gordon really should be able to capitalize on that one there. And now we move up to the main card, man. I've been recording this for a while, but it doesn't feel like I've been recording for too long. But hey, yeah, we've got Tyson Pedro taking on Harry Hunsucker. Why is this on the main card? I feel like they're just trying to turn Tyson Pedro into another Australian star because they've got Taito Ivasa, they've got Jack Della Maddalena coming up, they've got Jamie Malaki as well somewhat, Alexander Volkanovski obviously, but he's a champion, of course he's going to have a big name to him. And yeah, it's on the main card of a pay-per-view. I don't really know why. I feel like there could have been a much better fight to put on this card. Like, I know we've got 3 amazing fights and then 1 pretty good fight, but like, you know, if you're going to charge Americans, $75 for a pay-per-view. You can't just put Tyson Pedro versus Harry Hunsucker in the first leg. Like, come on, man. Like, oh, this is just sad, man. It's just sad. Like, why is the UFC doing this? But anyway, Tyson Pedro, he's gonna win by KO probably. Harry Hunsucker got knocked out by Taito Ivasa on short notice. It is what it is. But then he got knocked out by Justin Tuffer, where Justin Tuffer was having success in the grappling exchanges. It was a weird fight. But yeah, Justin Tuffer ended up knocking him out with a head kick as well. But that's Justin Tuffer. I rate Justin Tuffer a lot higher than I think most people do. But yeah, he got knocked out by Jared Vandeera as well. And that's not a good look either. Like, yeah, Tyson Pedro's come back after about 3 years off, destroyed EK Villanueva. EK Villanueva was brought into the UFC just to get destroyed, pretty much. I think he went like 1-5, 1-6 in his run. Yeah, that was just a setup fight for Pedro. This is another one. Harry Hunsucker, yeah, lost to 2 Australians in a row, about to make it 3. Pedro works a lot of elite kicks. He's got a really good grappling base as well. You might even see a submission out of him because he does have good submissions, but it's just a weird fight. I think they're just trying to build Tyson Pedro's name with a KO here. I think he's going to get it as well. Maybe he gets a submission as well after knocking him down, but I don't give Hunsucker too much opportunity here. Maybe he's a really live underdog. I think he's probably the biggest dog on the card, plus 550. Maybe it's worth it. Hunsucker does have power. MMA Guru kept going on about how fast his hands were, so maybe that's something there. But he's going to be cutting weight, and he's already been chinsed twice in the UFC. Like, it's just a weird fight that I think Tyson Pedro should win. If Hunsucker wins, good for him. He just saved his career. But I think Tyson Pedro's a guy that UFC's trying to build the name of, because I think they're going to be, okay, conspiracy theory, I think they're going to be trying to go to Australia in 2023. I think early next year they're going to try and go to Australia. They're going to put Tyson Pedro on the card, Jamie Malaki on the prelims. They're going to put Jack Della Maddalena on the main card. They're going to have Alexander Volkanovski headlining it against, probably for the 155 belt potentially. But even then they should put Charlie Olives in Brazil. But anyway, point is, I think you're going to be putting on an Australian card. Taito Ivasa even could headline it, and Tyson Pedro on the main card. I think I've just rambled about that, but I think that's what they're trying to do, trying to build Tyson Pedro's name so they can justify having a big Australian card next year. And if it is in Australia, guess who's going to be going? Because I'm from New Zealand, so I'll just fly over to Australia. It's a pretty quick flight. Fly back and watch the show. Yeah, 3.5 minutes, 3:50, half minutes. It wasn't too long of a prediction. I just wasted a lot of time though. I'll see you in the next fight. And now we've got Marcin Tybura taking on Alexander Romanov, and this is a pretty big test for Alexander Romanov, who was absolutely destroyed his UFC competition, which I will talk about later. But fun facts, you know, you come to ask him for the predictions, he comes with you with the fun facts. And Chase Sherman, he recently beat Chase Sherman, who took the fight on like 5 days notice or something like that, because a lot of people pulled out before that matchup. And a lot of people were like, why is Chase Sherman still in the UFC? Well, here's why. Because Chase Sherman took this fight, the UFC gave him a 4-fight contract extension. Well, he actually got cut from the UFC and then re-signed. So a 4-fight deal with double pay for what he was on. That's how desperate they were for an opportunity for a fighter for Alexander Romanov, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I think the UFC spent a really decent amount of time building this guy up. Like, he has been fighting pretty good competition outside of the UFC. He did beat a guy that was 20-5 at the time, and then more experienced competition, pretty good guys. Coming to the UFC, was meant to fight Marcin Tybura in his debut. That didn't end up happening, so he took on Roque Martinez, destroyed him, took on Marcos Rogério de Lima, destroyed him, and then did he win? I don't think so. I think Espino beat him, but anyway, we move on. And then they gave him Jared Vandeera and Chase Sherman. Like, this guy has got, like, I don't know, man, maybe I'm going to be called a hater for saying this, but Alexander Romanov has got a really protective record when you look at it. Roque Martinez was a guy that got beaten up by a lot of low-level heavyweights. Marcos Rogério de Lima's kind of having a run right now, but same sort of situation. Why is my mouse doing this, man? Anyway, yeah, and then Marcos Rogério de Lima, Juan Espino was his first test. He barely passed that, so they threw him back down there with Jared Vandeera. They threw him back down there with Chase Sherman, and now they're giving him Marcin Tybura a step up. And I think that Alexander Romanov's going to pass the test, but I just thought I would point out the fact that I think that his record is somewhat protected, and I think this is a crazy test, crazy big step up in competition from Chase Sherman, from Roque Martinez, from Jared Vandeera, but I think that he's going to beat Marcin Tybura. It's a somewhat similar matchup. Both guys are grapplers, both guys are wrestlers. Marcin Tybura has pretty good striking, but Romanov's also got really good striking as well. I think it's probably underrated just because he uses so much wrestling and so much grappling, but Romanov has got striking and striking in the back pocket as well. I think it's better than Tybura's. In my opinion, he did beat Walt Harris, but Walt Harris, from memory, had some sort of success in that fight there. And then we move on. He beat Greg Hardy, but Sergey Spivak destroyed Greg Hardy using the exact same game plan, pretty much. Marcin Tybura is a ranked opponent for Romanov. It's about time we got a ranked opponent, and I think this is a good test for him. I think he's going to win. By ground and pound TKO. Tybura has been chinned a few times in his career. He lost a decision to Volkov. Volkov is an elite fighter, though, and I do think that Romanov's going to beat Tybura. Just simple as that. And maybe though, because Volkov has been saying that he's got an opponent booked, but there's no opponents that make any sense in the ranking. So maybe they'll just do Romanov versus Volkov at UFC 280 if he wins. Give him a quick turnaround. I think that might actually be what they're planning on doing, because there's no opponents that make sense for Volkov to fight right now that he hasn't already fought in the rankings. So I think Romanov's going to jump up, beat Marcin Tybura, and then fight Alexander Volkov in UFC 280. A conspiracy theory, Artem MMA Analysis out here. Let's move on. And now we move on to Jose Aldo taking on Merab Dvalishvili. And I'm picking Jose Aldo here. He has fought some really, really good wrestlers in the past. I know he did get taken down by Rob Font early on into his... it wasn't even early on, that's 8 months ago. He got taken down by Rob Font, which isn't a good look. And Merab does that to you, man. Merab takes people down, and they get back up, and then just takes them down. They get back up again. They takes them down and get back up again. He's got like a record for most takedowns in UFC, or like one of the most in bantamweight history or something like that already, which is crazy. But I think that it's not gonna work too well against Jose Aldo. That quote could potentially age really, really badly, but I do believe that Jose Aldo should be able to beat Merab here. I think Jose Aldo might get taken down at least once in the matchup, but he's going to get back up again. You know, even Marlon Moraes was getting taken down and he got back up again, and Merab Dvalishvili was running away from Marlon Moraes at one point as well. Like, Merab's striking doesn't impress me, you know what I mean? Jose Aldo's got really good striking. He hasn't necessarily been knocking guys out at bantamweight. He's won 3 decisions, but I think if he's going to knock someone out, I do think it is going to be Merab, because Merab, you know, yes, it was Marlon Moraes, and Marlon Moraes, I feel like it's just been quite underrated. I know Marlon Moraes has no chin whatsoever, but Marlon Moraes' power itself is quite underrated, and I think that Marlon Moraes was having success. He obviously hurt Merab, I think twice in that fight as well, pretty early on. I think Jose Aldo's going to be able to do the same, but I think he's just got more composure, just more fight IQ, more experience, and I think he's going to be able to beat Merab on the feet for sure, defend the takedowns, and I think he probably will end up knocking out Merab Dvalishvili. Absolutely path to victory from Merab. Takes Jose Aldo down, Aldo gets back up, takes him down again, gets back up, because Jose Aldo, you know, we say that 3-round Aldo is a mythical fighter, and the reason why we say that is because his cardio in the 4th and the 5th round does tend to slow down, and that's exactly what Merab Dvalishvili's game plan is to do. He takes you down, you get back up, and then he takes you down. It's just exhausting. He's exhausting you from you having to get back up, and then he just takes you down again. Potentially that game plan could work against Aldo. There's definitely a world and a scenario where that happens, but I'm just looking at the striking of Merab, and it's just not very technical. He's very hittable. He's been hit hard by Marlon Moraes and hurt before, and I think that Jose Aldo, if he gets the same opportunity, he's going to be able to do a bit more damage than Moraes did. I'm going to be picking Jose Aldo for his first finished win now since he's dropped down to bantamweight, and I do think if he beats Merab, the way that the division has been matched up and how it's going right now, he might leapfrog Jan to a title shot, and I think he might fight the winner of TJ Dillashaw versus Aljamain Sterling, which would be crazy. And I actually do think, I think Aljamain Sterling would beat a lot of guys in the UFC bantamweight division, but I actually genuinely believe that Jose Aldo could beat TJ Dillashaw, and I genuinely believe that he could beat Aljamain Sterling as well, which is pretty crazy to me, in my opinion. But yeah, give me Aldo to win this fight. I'm going to be picking KO. I'm going to do it, man. I'm picking Aldo to win by KO, and I'm really happy for him. He's going on a good run late into his career, and we'll see how long it lasts. I think he potentially has the opportunity to fight for the belt. I think if he beats Merab, I think it might be title shot time. You know, he's got 3 wins already over ranked guys. Chito Vera win is aging supremely well. Like, it's crazy. I think Jose Aldo is going to win. I think he's going to win by KO. I've given a lot of reasons why. Let's just move on to the next fight. Okay, now we've got Paulo Costa taking on Luke Rockhold, and I think what's going to happen here is Luke Rockhold's going to survive the first round, and they're going to be an exchange, and then the buzzer's going to go off, the ref is going to step in, he's going to separate the fighters, but as he kind of moves his arm to push them back, he misses the chest, and he accidentally back slaps Luke Rockhold in the face. Luke Rockhold hits the canvas, he's knocked out cold. The UFC and the commission have absolutely no idea what to win. KO win for the referee, and he moves on in his UFC career. Now, I think what's going to happen here, I think Paulo Costa is going to knock Luke Rockhold out in the first rounds, man. And I've got a few reasons why. It's just, I just don't understand. Why is Luke Rockhold fighting at 185 again, you know? So what happened was, when he fought, I think he fought, oh man, when did he last fight at 185? I'm such an idiot. But yeah, he last fought at 185 in 2018. And in 2018, he struggled to make 185, and he was saying, this weight cut is really killing me. This weight cut is hurting me. And so he moved up to 205, took on Jan Blachowicz. That did not go to plan at all. He got knocked out by Jan. And then now he's going to be returning 3 years later at 185 again, at a weight cut that hurt him in the past, a weight cut that he couldn't really do without quote unquote killing himself, without hurting himself. You know, you're struggling to make that weight, and now he's at almost 38 years old. I don't see him making 185 with a lot of safety again. You know, Paulo Costa at his last fight decided that he wasn't going to fight at 185. It was up to Marvin Vettori to meet him up at 205 after Vettori had already started cutting weight. That was crazy. Yeah, but before that he was undefeated as well before he fought Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya knocked him out. Is what it is. But Paulo Costa, power puncher. You know, this guy's got power on the feet. He's got a black belt which was given to him by his former manager. So take with that what you will in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, Luke Rockhold, he's got a good wrestling game. As I said though, I don't like the weight cut at all, and I don't like the fact that he's like, oh yeah, let's fight at 185. When in general, at this point of my career, I can't really take a shot. I can't really make the weight at 185. So now let's fight a guy with insane amounts of power at 185. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. You know, Paulo Costa landed that crazy head kick on Marvin Vettori, which would put most guys out cold. I would be knocked out cold for about 2 or 3 hours if I ate that head kick. Marvin Vettori is made out of something else. And I think that Paulo Costa is just going to do the same to Rockhold. I think he's going to knock him out in the first round. So maybe if Costa ends up overlooking Rockhold in his skill set, maybe he could lose. And then Rockhold will probably, believe it or not, you call me crazy, but I think he probably will fight for the title with the landscape of 185 right now and how it is. Unless Whittaker beats him to it. No, Pereira's been fighting for the title. Anyway, I think Rockhold probably would have an argument for a title shot, even though it wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. But knowing how middleweight is right now, he probably will get it. But I think Paulo Costa, I think he's going to be able to defend any takedown attempts from Rockhold, which I think is what he's going to try and bring to the table. And Costa's just going to knock him out, probably with a left hook Larry Rockhold. You know, he got knocked out with the left hook from Michael Bisping. He got knocked out, I believe, with a left hook as well from Yoel Amir. And he got knocked out by a left hook from Jan Blachowicz. So, Costa KO, man. I just don't see Rockhold taking the power. I don't see him taking the punches. My mouse has decided to not work as well. Why? It's on. I'm so confused. Anyway, yeah, see us in the main event. I've got a lot to say about the main event, so let's see. And now we're in the main event. Kamaru Usman taking on Leon Edwards, and I'm picking Leon Edwards, man. I've been on Leon Edwards for a very long time now. I've been commenting for weeks, saying that Leon Edwards, I do believe he's gonna win, this and that. This isn't just me jumping on Leon Edwards' hype train, I guess. I've been picking Leon Edwards for a long time, and I've got quite a lot of reasons for it. You know, Kamaru Usman, you know, his last fight he fought Colby Covington to a draw. Realistically, it was a draw, and he was having a competitive striking match with Colby Covington, and striking is not Colby Covington's bread and butter. It's his wrestling and his grappling. He fought Jorge Masvidal in a rematch that makes no sense apart from just padding his legacy. Let's be real. He fought Gilbert Burns and beat him. That was a pretty impressive performance, it really was. But Gilbert Burns had no fight IQ at all. I believe he dropped Usman down at one point, or he had Usman hurt, and then just kind of looked at him and didn't do anything. We'll talk about that later with Nate Diaz. And then he beat Jorge Masvidal on 2 days' notice. That's not a legacy building title defense, you know what I mean? And then he beat Colby Covington again, but in the first fight. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about Leon Edwards here. You know, this guy's had probably the easiest run to a title ever. Like, he beat Donald Cerrone, Gunnar Nelson, Rafael dos Anjos, Bilal Muhammad no contest, and Nate Diaz. And he's kind of been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a title shot to happen. And it's finally happened. I think he's actually going to make the most of it. So let's just talk about Leon Edwards here. No, let's talk about Usman. So, Usman, he's been saying in interviews for a very long time that his knees are so bad, he can't get up and run 5 miles because his knees are going to hurt. Like, I've had my fibula removed from my leg, and I could still run 5 miles, you know? Like, that's pretty crazy to me. And also, he's been wrestling a lot less. That's his path to victory. Usman's path to victory to beat Leon Edwards is to wrestle. But he's not really able to wrestle like he used to because his knees from his wrestling has been, and also probably another reason why his knees are hurting. But we'll get to that at the very end of the video, so I don't get too many dislikes. But he's got very bad knees. He's got very bad joints in general because of his wrestling, and he's not wrestling as much as well, which is why he's relying on his striking. And I think his striking is just a little bit overrated. Like, yes, he knocked out Jorge Masvidal, but if they were to fight in a kickboxing belt at the time, Jorge Masvidal would win. He's just a better technical striker than Usman. Leon Edwards is the better technical striker than Usman. And I think that's what's going to play a massive factor in this fight. But what Usman does bring to the table is that wrestling. He's not wrestling as much as he used to, though, and that's because of his joints, of his knees. He's been injured so many times in his career. He was been sitting out for months with a broken hand. I believe even when this fight was announced, he was recovering from his broken hand or his hand injury as well. So he's obviously hasn't been having a crazy training camp like Leon Edwards has. And if you're Leon Edwards, he's been training the whole time. He's been training for the biggest fight of his career. He's training for a title shot right now, and he has been for the last 8 months, last year. He's been training for the last year for a title shot, while Kamaru Usman defended his bout against Colby Covington and then sat out on the sidelines with a broken hand. This fight was announced when Usman was still recovering from his broken hand. Usman was saying he might not even return until the end of the year because his hand won't be fully healed. And now he's making a quick return in, what, is this August now? I'm not buying it, man. I just think, hey, Beer, my dog's here. I'm not buying it. I think that Usman's taking this fight somewhat still recovering from his broken hand. He's still got sore joints from wrestling. He's not going to wrestle as much in this matchup. I think that Leon Edwards is just a better technical striker. You know, Leon Edwards, yes, he has close fights. Yes, he has split decision wins over guys that he really should have dominated if he's going to beat a guy like Kamaru Usman. But I think at this point, Kamaru Usman's 35 years old. Leon Edwards is 31. He's still in his prime. He's still building. He's still getting better. He's just the more technical striker. Like, he just is. And, I just think Leon Edwards wins. I just think I think everyone's going to be so surprised because everyone's calling Usman a lock. This and that. I'm not sold. I would not put Usman in parlays if I was anyone. I'm seeing a lot of Usman parlays and I don't like it. I don't understand. I think a lot of people are thinking he's going to wrestle in this matchup. Leon Edwards, I don't think he's going to be too scared of the wrestling because he's improved so much since their first fight, and even then he wasn't looking too bad in the wrestling exchanges anyway. I think Leon Edwards keeps the fight on the feet. I think he's just going to beat Usman on the feet. I really think he's going to out-volley him. I think he's going to land more damage as well. Usman's got crazy cardio, but it's because he hasn't pissed hot yet, but I'm very surprised he hasn't because he's got spots all over his face, he's got spots all over his shoulders, even all over his legs and his body. He's got sore joints, which is a side effect of taking performance-enhancing drugs, especially, I think was it HGH, I think it is, or EPO, one of the two. You get sore joints from taking that steroid, and not saying anything, but yeah, I think Edwards, man. I think it's Edwards' time. Everyone's calling Kamaru Usman the greatest of all time, this and that. I think his legacy is just a little bit too overrated for me. I'm just not blinded by that, you know? Like, he's defended his belt 5 times, yeah, but 4 times against the same 2 people, and then 2 out of those 5 times was against Jorge Masvidal, who in the first fight took the fight on 2 days' notice, and then even in the second bout, just in general, that's a very easy, well, not easy, but very winnable matchup for Usman anyway, because he's got the wrestling in the back pocket, and Jorge Masvidal was scared of the wrestling. That's why he was so tentative on the feet. That's why Colby as well was tentative in the second fight, and even the first fight somewhat as well, and then Usman cracked him, and then since then Colby kind of come back. Like, I think Leon Edwards is not going to be tentative. He's been waiting for this moment for about a year. He's funny. He's got an annoying voice, but he's so funny. He's like, they hid him from me. Like, they said, like, Jorge Masvidal fled the country to hide from them. It's actually hilarious. Leon Edwards has got a good story as well. It's quite easy to root for the guy, but yeah, like, I know he got rocked by Nate Diaz as well. That's another big one that people bring up. Like, oh, if Nate Diaz is going to rock him, then Usman will too. But Leon Edwards just toying with Nate Diaz. He wasn't fighting like he normally was. He wasn't taking it seriously anymore. He was pointing at him. He was laughing at him. He was doing what Nate Diaz was doing to him, and he's just kind of having fun in there. But I think in a UFC title fight, he's gonna be switched on. Like, he's gonna be switched on for 5 rounds. I don't think he's gonna get caught by Usman in this fight here. It's kind of crazy that actually happened in the fight. But yeah, it's just Usman. He's just toying with him. I think he's just bored of beating him up, because he beat him up. He used grappling, he used striking, he beat Nate Diaz up bad. I think Edwards wins, man. I'm actually kind of confident in it too. I'm quietly confident in Edwards. This video could age badly. Usman's got the power, like his brother did, even though his brother had no power whatsoever in the Ultimate Fighter house. Makes his UFC debut. Walks in with a breast, walks in with gyno and spots all over his body and his shoulders, and all of a sudden has KO power. I digress. We move on. Leon Edwards by decision. I think at this point Usman's getting too old. He's been injured so much in his career. He's been sitting out with an injury for about like 4 or 5 months, while Edwards has been training hard for the biggest fight of his career. I think Leon Edwards has got it, man. I genuinely believe that there's a great chance Edwards wins, and I love it. I love that he's such a big underdog. I love that everyone's picking Usman. I love that everyone's picking against me, and I just love it, man. I love when this happens. Even if I get proven wrong, it is what it is, you know. Like, I just love having this feeling that I'm picking someone that no one else is, and oh man, I've just got so much to say about this fight, and I'm so excited for it. Even if Edwards loses, it's just a great fight. It's a great fight. It is what it is. I think there's a good chance Edwards wins. This press conference as well is gonna be funny as, because Edwards is just hilarious. He doesn't mean to be funny. He's just kind of an easy guy to laugh at. Like, he's like, they hit him from the he fled the country of voice crack. I can't. My voice isn't deep, but I cannot do high pitch at all. This is just how my voice is, man. All right. Thanks for watching the video. This is an 8-minute breakdown on one fight. I just got so much to say about it though. I'll catch you in the next one. I cannot wait to see what happens in this fight, man. It's so good. If you made it this far, please subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video and comment as well. I never ask anyone at the start of the video to do all that, but if you made it this far, you might as well. Thank you guys very much, and I'll see you in the next one. It probably will be a Dana White's Contender Series prediction video for next week, and I'll probably drop it in 24 hours time from now. I haven't actually researched the card yet though. Believe it or not. So yeah, I'll maybe it will be in 48 hours, but yeah, it'll come out. I'll see you next time.